Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Okay, so hey, there are times when we all could use a little extra help and support in our lives. Whether there's something you're struggling with or just seeking connection with other people who understand what it's like to be in your situation, Inovia Behavioral Health can help. Inovia is a subscription-based organization that provides unlimited access to a wide variety of educational, experiential, and therapeutic support groups that are led by live expert facilitators. Now, you can get 20% off your membership with the discount code Cookbook20 when you subscribe. Check it out today at inoviabh.com. Inovia, feel better. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and I'm super excited about our guest today, Danielle Weil. I'm going to read her bio and bring her on, but really cool. She's in Israel. And at first, because I read the news and all that crap, and you don't believe what's in the news, and I was like, oh, you're in Israel. And she said, no, it's actually kind of cool. It's probably safer than where I live. So I'm going to read her bio and bring her on. Danielle Weil is a copy and marketing strategist who helps expert business owners make more sales by owning their voice, which I love, and copy. Since 2006, she's written dozens of 6- and 7-figure launches. You hear that, y'all out there? 6- and 7-figure launches, generated over $100 million plus in sales for clients, and mentored business owners to break their own sales records with copy that sounds like them, but makes so much more money. All right. So without further ado, let's meet Danielle.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. So I love that 6- and 7-figure launches. I really want to get into that. But I talked about the Israel thing because everybody has this different, idea on what it's like, to live in the Middle East. And I know when we first spoke, I was like, is it safe? And you're like, yeah, it's probably safer than when you are. So,
I mean, well, it depends. But for the most part, it's we live in a really small community. It's, I have 4 kids. They sort of wander around. They walk to school, they walk home, they have their friends. And if I get nervous, again, having grown up in the US and having, my sister grown up in South Florida when the Parkland mass shooting happened, I was like, oh, that's like right near where I grew up. And then there's another one and another one and another one. And I think statistically speaking, it's less safe to be a school child in the US than it might be to be where we are. So.
Oh, yeah. And we just I'm in Indiana, and it's funny because, or not that it's funny, it's not funny. You read about this and you're like, oh, it's never been in my backyard. And now it's been in my backyard. Yeah. And it kind of just really makes you take pause. But hopefully we'll get our shit together with that. We'll see. But besides that stuff, so talk about you and, what you do and how you've, what are some of the 6- and 7-figure launches that you've done? And yeah.
Sure. So I actually got into copywriting a little bit by accident. I majored in English literature and creative writing at NYU. I wanted to be a writer, basically since I could read, which was pretty early on. And that's my first love, is words. And so it was kind of a natural transition to step into this world of writing marketing copy and sales copy and writing words that sell. And I found that I had fun with it. I was good at it, and I kept doing it. And it was actually the thing that enabled me to make that move to moving here 14 years ago. And so I had a really solid work from home job with clients in the US, and I just kept doing it. And then when I got into writing launches specifically for people like Ryan Levesque, Todd Herman, Selena Sue, Marisa Murgatroyd, Danny Inney, those are when you're launching with lots of partners and lots of moving pieces, and you're the one writing all the copy. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I really both have learned a lot from going through that process, and then there's like the adrenaline of seeing the things that you've written go out and make such an impact in the world, and like all the things that come along with those big launches. And so it really is a lot of fun to be behind the scenes on those.
So walk us through a launch. Like how does that work?
It depends on the scope of the launch, right? Because when you've got lots of partners and you're running traffic, there's lots of elements going on, is different from if you are launching to your audience, launching by yourself, launching with a workshop, launching. The scale of the launch matters. But do you want to know about the big ones? Because there's only so much that I can and can't say, right?
Oh, that's true, right? There's probably, okay. Well, so what does a launch look like in general? How about that? Without any, breaking any.
A launch starts really
NDAs.
It starts, of course, with the offer, right? And it starts with reverse engineering the place that you want someone to get to, which is credit card in hand going like, yes, please, I'm in. That's what we all want. Lots of people doing that.
Yes, please.
And all at once. And so thinking through, how do you get people there in a way that feels really good, in a way that doesn't overhype or, use crazy marketing tactics or overpromise, in a way that feels real and feels you, is thinking through, what are the pieces? What is the bridge? What do I have to get my audience, my ideal client, to believe in order to buy? Because really sales is all about belief change. And so a launch is just a concentrated marketing effort with live conversion pieces where you are everywhere at once, changing those beliefs in a big way.
Very cool. That's pretty awesome. And I love, one of the things that we were talking about was, the story. And, I had Lindsay Hotmeyer on last year, and, her big thing was story. And I know that your big thing also is, story. And I think story is really powerful, because when a story is told, I want to say, the right way, there's a lot of power behind that. So how do you like, what is that to you?
To me, story is, because what I teach is thinking through a narrative, right? It's less about the stories that you're telling, although there's a way to tell stories that get attention and move people, because we relate to stories we buy from stories. But what's going to inform those stories is your overall launch narrative, your sales narrative. And that is what takes someone from where they are with the problem, the thing that they want to solve, to showing them why you are the person to help them, show them why they haven't been able to succeed before and the thing that's going to change everything. And then your unique solution, right? So walking people across that bridge, and that is the core story. If you have that figured out, then you can tell all kinds of things around it. You can tell the stories about walking your dog, or you can tell about the thing that happened with your kids, or you can pick up a random object and tell a story about it, and you can tie it back to that key narrative whenever you want.
Right. That's awesome. We're going to have to talk. Anyway. So
I thought that's what we're doing.
Well, you know what I mean, but so it's funny. So I pivoted big time last year, into just doing, marketing, to doing all-in-one marketing solutions. And it happened because, a new, rather large client needed all the things. And they were like, can you do this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. Have you done this? Oh, yeah, actually. And they needed everything, but they didn't want to work with like 10 different people to get it done, right? So so we pivoted to all-in-one marketing solutions where, you don't have to go anywhere else to, get a media buy done, videography, podcast production, whatever, all the things, websites. And it changed the way that I looked at marketing because I used to just do digital marketing and I was very, I had my blinders on. So it was always
Hmm.
websites and SEO and social media and ad buys and blah, blah, all the things. But then when you start looking at the bigger picture of what, what is actually in this marketing plan for the year, um, lots of things pop up. There's trade shows, there's fairs, there's all these things. So then you need promotional items and then you need tents to be able to be outside and branding and, all of it. So that was the pivot that I made. And I realized that I never told the story about it, now I do on podcasts and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But I mean, I never wrote anything down. It's not on the website. Like none of that is there, which is why I said, we'll have a different conversation,
Yeah.
um, but it's really interesting because when people make those pivots, everything changes. I think that their way of thinking, it changes. And so, yeah, so that's what happened to me. So what is the best way for somebody to work with you?
The best way for someone to work with me, it depends on really where you are in your business. I do some high-level consulting. We do some quick one-on-one sessions where we're co-creating copy. That is one of my favorite things to do, is get on a call, ask the right questions, pull that narrative out, because it is so hard for you to see it for yourself. And I'm actually struggling with some of this myself for my own business, so I know what it's like firsthand. You
Wow.
cannot see the label from inside the bottle. And
No.
what you need is someone who knows the frameworks, who knows how to ask the right questions, where to dig, where to put pieces together, how to reflect it back. And so, the co-creation, whether it's in a one-on-one setting or a group setting, is one of my favorite things to do with people. I also have self-guided courses. So if you want to write your sales page in a day and figure out your narrative and get it, whether you want to get better at email, just launched a brand new 14-day email mini course that is delivered by email. You hit reply, you do the thing, you get it done. And it's really a way to get better at writing emails without overthinking it.
That's
So
awesome.
that's just my mission, is helping business owners who are still writing it themselves, whether they want to get better at doing it, whether they want to get it off their plate, get copy that converts no matter who's writing it.
That's awesome. I love that you can't see the label from inside the bottle. It's true. I
Really
mean, when you're in
can't.
it, you can't.
Can't.
When you're in it, it is so hard. And that's with anything. I mean, that's just life in general. If you're in it, it's really hard to see past, where you are. So,
Yeah.
I love that a lot. So,
Oh.
I, I know that, you were never in corporate. So what were your beginnings? I mean, how did you start?
What made me decide to become an entrepreneur? Well, I didn't actually decide, and this is the thing. I'm not
Yeah.
your typical visionary quick start. If you're familiar with the Colby assessment, I'm a 2 on quick start out of 10, right? It takes me, I'm the slow and steady build kind of business owner. And even becoming an entrepreneur in the first place kind of goes against, I think, my nature. But I landed in it because I wanted a way to be able to move to Israel and support myself and support my family and have a family and work from home. And then I started doing it and I was like, oh yeah, this is clearly what I need to be doing. I took a detour into an office job. It lasted about 8 months, was not for me. And then I went back to my home office. And that's I started doing it and then fell in love with it after.
So, it's so funny because, so, for me, I worked from home before working from home was cool, right? I was a vendor manager for one of my jobs, and I constantly traveled. So it didn't make sense to go into the office. Like maybe one day, 2 days a week, I was in Chicago, and I started working from home. And I remember the very first day I ordered a desk, and it was like, like a regular office desk. It had the credenza, the whole thing. And it's like in my apartment, and I'm going, this is kind of, weird. I have to, okay. And then I set my computer up and I had like all the things. And it was like, how do you discipline yourself? Right. So did you ever have an issue? Because the first week, it was like, I don't have to take a shower. I can sleep in an hour more. I can go make a freaking big breakfast. Like it was like all the things. And after a week, I was like a day behind on some stuff because I didn't travel that week. I was traveling the next week and I was like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah. I need to get on some kind of a schedule. And then I literally was like, okay, I woke up, I took a shower like I was going to work. I made breakfast like I was going to the diner around the corner, and then, so how did you get your discipline down?
A couple of things. So you want all the tips because we got them. We've been doing this a while.
Okay, people, listen to this because this is not easy. I mean, it is not.
It's not. Have an office. So have a space, get dressed, go to work. I am a big believer in paper. Right. So I will literally have like a notebook next to me with my objectives for the day, and I will cross them off as I do them because it just makes me right. There you go.
Yep.
It's your objectives for the day. Cross them off. Feel good about it. I'm a big fan of naps because I do work in the mornings where everyone's sleeping in, the US. And then I come back and do calls in the evenings, and that time in the middle is my time to recharge. And again, like some days I don't feel like doing it. And I actually don't think that's a bad thing because why else would we be working from home and have the flexibility if we can't indulge ourselves from time to time in a day off or, sleeping in, or I, was not feeling it. It's been a little cold this winter. I work from bed some days because, hey, why not?
Wow. I can't work from bed because I would have dogs writing my emails and eating my, computer or, like I am literally behind a gate because the puppy's like, now she's 9 months old, but I really believe that the first 2 years of a dog's life is keeping them alive. Because she was eating the carbon monoxide detector that's in the wall. So I had to like put a gate up there. And then she got into the office and I have like 3 monitors and, Alexa is over here. Oh, no. Oh, it's on mute. Okay. I have Alexa over here and like my iPad over here. And then, this giant surge protector and they're chewing on the wires. And I'm like, you're going to die. I mean, so.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, but the only way to stop them is to have this gate, which is really good. Oh yeah, I have
another productivity tip. Another productivity tip. This is like you have to find what works for you. But what works for me when I have to get a lot done in a little bit of time is I will put on the Hamilton soundtrack. And for some reason, it is weirdly like I'll just go. I'm the kind of person who's always worked with music in the background, and I know it's 2 hours. And by the time, by the time the orphanage, right, like the end, I've gotten a whole lot of stuff done.
That is awesome. See, I can't work with music because I'm a musician. And if I start listening, so I tried, this was like so funny. And I found this out probably about 12 years ago. And I was like, everybody works to music. Everybody that I know is really productive when they listen to music, and I haven't tried it, and I'm going to try it. And I sat down and I put on the Pretenders, and I sang the Pretenders. So I'm like, doing my job, and then a song comes on, and I'm like, oh, and I was in a band at the time. So I'm like, ooh. So I start writing down what song I want to do from,
Mm-hmm.
the album. And next thing I know, I'm not working. And now I
Yeah,
have
you're
on
on it.
different music. I'm on a whole different trajectory, right? So
Right.
it doesn't work for me. So it's very quiet, which is weird. And then I will take, like where you take naps, I take karaoke breaks. And
Okay.
um, I have this program called Cara Fun. Uh, it's like, I don't know, $9.99 a month or something, but it has any song you can possibly imagine on there, and you can make it into any key. So if it's a guy singing it and it's not in your key, you could, adjust transpose it and everything. And I will take about a 15-minute karaoke break every 3 hours.
That's
Because A,
so
I'm trying to
fun.
start a band up again, and B, I
Right.
want my voice to get back into shape because during COVID I was very sedentary.
Yeah.
Um, and I find myself, and I forgot how eclectic, my taste is. So
Mm-hmm.
I have everything from like Perry Como to Lizzo, so
Mm-hmm.
so I have like this thing, and that's my
Yeah.
music during the day because
Yeah.
I can't work with it on.
I know, like, going to coffee shops, that's something I do also. Like, I'll go to a coffee shop and work, or go to go somewhere else is also another hack. Like, be out of your typical setting,
Hmm.
especially if you're doing not your rote task, you want to do deep thinking or strategic work. It's better to be in a different physical space. Like, I just booked a hotel room uh, for like 15 minutes from where I live just to stay overnight. Like, I get so much done, not just the change of
Wow,
scenery. It is the, like, having skin in the game and knowing that you've paid for it that makes you put yourself on the hook to be productive. It's like, I'm
that's
paying for this.
interesting.
I better be able to go home and tell my husband about all the things that I accomplished in this room.
That is awesome. I mean, that's a great idea. I never would have thought of that. We have a co-working studio here where, I don't utilize it as much as I should, but there are days that it's like I need to get out of the house. A couple of reasons. Change of scenery for me isn't really the big thing, but you know, these girls out here are like, mommy is in behind this gate all day long. Why isn't she playing with us? So the
Mm-hmm.
little one will lay in front of the gate with this really, what are you doing? Look. And it's like, I'm not looking at you. I can't play with you,
Yeah, the
Um,
mommy guilt.
yeah, yes, 100%. And I tried going to coffee shops, but the issue that I have with that is a lot of times I'll get a phone call
Mm-hmm.
and I can't take that in a coffee shop. It's too loud, whether I have my noise cancellation on or not. I mean,
Right, right. Yeah.
it happens. So, but everybody has, hacks that work for them. And I love the hotel thing. That is like awesome. But my wife would be like, I don't think so. You're not staying in a hotel overnight. Um,
Some hotels will actually let you book a day package also.
oh, so
Like,
just book I mean,
you
I
can
heard of
book a
those. Those
day
weren't, I mean,
for
like,
different, but for
a couple
our
hours.
entrepreneurial purposes, you can actually.
Oh man, sorry. It just reminded me of the 80s. I remember my friends used to be like, and I truly never did this, but I had friends that would book like 3 hours in a hotel. And I'm like, what are you doing for 3 hours in a hotel? Never mind. I don't want to know what you do because we weren't entrepreneurs back then.
Right.
So, it's a whole different, but this is going to devolve. Okay. So, I know that you, I know you never worked for corporate before. And you didn't decide to become an entrepreneur. It just kind of worked out that way. Um, what, so the audience is mostly made up of people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, seasoned entrepreneurs, C-suite. Um, Oddly, it's really been for anyone and everybody lately because of people's journey. So what advice would you have for somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur? Like what, because it was different for you, but you know, you had to start somewhere and there had to be, you know, steps. So what advice would you have in that vein?
I think that when you're coming into starting your own business, especially if it is an expertise-based business, meaning you want to build something online that leverages what you already know and what you come in with, you have to know what you can outsource from the beginning and the skills that you actually do need to own that are not your core skills. And what I mean by that is specifically sales and marketing, right? Like knowing how to write copy. And I'm biased because that is what I teach people to do. But I fully believe that when you're starting a business, that is one of the most valuable skills you can have. Knowing how to sell and knowing how to write words that sell. Tech, like build your website. You do not have to build your website yourself. Like someone else can do that for you. Someone else can set up your automations. Iris can set up everything for you. But when it comes to, you at least have to know how to write it. So if you hire a copywriter, like they leave you in the lurch, or you've got something at the last minute, or you're bootstrapping it and you don't have the budget, knowing at least the basic frameworks, what good copy looks like, how to tell your story, how to put it in a framework, and how to sell with those words. That's it.
Wow. That's awesome. And it's so funny because coming from, your point of view and your expertise, no one's ever said that before. Everybody always goes to, get an LLC, make sure, you know what I mean? They look at all of the other aspects and you just go right to the word piece. And I love that.
If you are not making sales, you do not have a business.
Well, you're 100% correct. But you also have to, when you say know how to sell, it's really interesting because there are a lot of people that start their business and they don't, like I'm pulling something up here. They don't know how to sell. They don't know how, not that they don't know how to sell, they don't know how to position it. And there's a difference, right? So you can sell your stuff, but if you're not positioning yourself or your product or whatever it is that you're selling properly, it doesn't matter if you could sell. It's not gonna make sense. And then that also kind of ties in to the words. And so it's like, everything, if you look at it as like not a Gantt chart, but almost like connect the dots, A, B, C, D, E. And like I said, no one ever talked about it before, but at the end of the day, it is all about your copy. It's all about your copy, your words, how you present it.
It's about your message. It's about the words. It's about your narrative. And again, you talk about your differentiator. What is it that you are doing, that you are bringing to the table that is different? And there can be people who are doing the exact same thing at you. There are other copywriters. There are other copy coaches. There are other, right? But nobody is you. Nobody is that flavor of ice cream. And when I ask people who come into my community, it's actually one of my favorite questions to ask, which is, what is your favorite ice cream flavor? And why? Because there's always a story there, and that story is always turns into a great piece of content. We can play if you want.
Okay.
All right. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate chip.
Why?
So, and that's a really good question. I've always liked chocolate because vanilla was always so vanilla, right? It was just like always plain. Now I love vanilla on chocolate. So if you have like a brownie, right? So, Outback has like Thunder Down Under, and it's like, a brownie with vanilla ice cream with chocolate. I mean, I just love chocolate, but there's this uh, organic brand, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's okay because I'm not plugging it. And it's the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. Like the chocolate chips are just really, it's more like chocolate strips than chips. But anyway,
Mm.
why do I like chocolate more? I think it goes back to like a comfort. This would be a little weird, but back in the day when uh, before menopause, I would get like a chocolate craving, and I would take a quart of Haagen-Dazs chocolate chip with chocolate snaps, and I would crumble the chocolate snaps in them, which they don't make anymore, which is very sad. That's Nabisco. You need to work on that. And it made me feel okay. And it made me not want to kill people because, you know, when you're PMSing and stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
it hits your hormones, and your hormones do. Okay, I would never kill anybody since, you know, I just want to throw that out there. That's not who I am, but I'm just, you know,
Disclaimer.
thank you. Yes, disclaimer. That was a turn on words, not anything that I would actually do. But yeah, I mean, it because I would feel this like, and then I would eat my chocolate, and it went away.
Now, how is that experience like what you do for other people?
Wow. I take their frustration away. I
It's that
take their
comfort of like, you
frustration away.
know, there is a
Wow.
container of Haagen-Dazs full of chocolate, and like it's all going to be okay.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Because they are frustrated that things that they have tried haven't worked. They're frustrated the companies that they've worked with didn't, you know, do what they or it didn't work out the way that they thought they would. I try to keep things positive. And I solved the problem of, you know, them having to do something that they hate to do.
And it's not the answer is not lots of toppings and lots of it's chocolate. It's really simple when you get down to it.
Yeah.
With the chips and the strips and the little things inside that make it special.
It's so good. Like I want to go, I have some in the freezer right now. I want to go and get some.
Every time I do this, it makes people hungry.
Well, yeah, because you're talking about chocolate ice cream, although it's like, well, it's 47 now. It started out at like 29 degrees this morning. And I was like, why? You know,
My husband
like,
thinks the best season for ice cream is winter because it melts slower. I disagree.
I disagree too. I don't want to be colder. I want the refreshing. I want the summer. I mean, that's, you know, ice cream is, although I had some last night, so it depends. But for me, summer is when, you know, you're that kid, right? When you were a kid in the summertime and you went out with your folks and you went to the ice cream store and you walked around with a cone and stuff. And, you know, that's what ice cream always was for me. Now it's just, I don't know. I pretty much eat it whenever, but I disagree with him. Tell him no.
Yeah, I've told him. And actually, my ice cream story, my favorite flavor is mint chocolate chip. And I talk about ice cream a lot. Like, you can't get mint chocolate chip in Israel. Really, now you can sort of, but only in the places where the Americans live. They don't get it. They are like, why would you eat ice cream that tastes like toothpaste? But for me, I remember mint chocolate chip is all about independence for me, because where I grew up in South Florida, you drive everywhere. Nothing's really walking distance, except we happened to live next to a shopping center that had a Carvel in it. And I remember being 10 years old
Carvel.
and
Oh, I love
being
Carvel.
Right, the with the thing and the
yeah,
yes.
yep. Yep, the dilly bars. Where in Florida did you live?
Boca Raton.
Okay, so I went to high school in North Miami Beach.
Okay.
But Carvel started in New York.
In New York, right? And all the New York transplants that moved to South Florida, like,
right. So you can get good pizza, good bagels, Carvel. Yeah, all of it.
Exactly. But I remember being allowed to walk and get ice cream by myself for the first time.
Wow.
And that first taste of mint chocolate chip was like, oh, I can do this.
So why mint chocolate chip? Like, what drew you to it?
I think mint and chocolate is an amazing combination. It's that freshness of the mint, and then you get like the surprise of the chips, and you almost like will eat the and then are left with the chips, and then you chew them at the end, and you're like, that's the
Ooh.
finish.
Okay. See, and
So
that's interesting because for me, mint chocolate chip was always like a weird thing, but yet I love, what are those Thin Mint cookies from, the Girl
yeah, the
Scouts?
Girl Scout
And
cookies. Anything with
yeah,
mint and chocolate is my jam. Anything.
yeah. And the thin after dinner mints that I can't remember the name of, and I have like 2 boxes in my refrigerator. But I'm not a mint chocolate chip fan.
And
Isn't
that's
that
okay.
weird?
Everybody
I
has their
know.
own flavor of ice cream.
But yes. Did you like pistachio?
No, it's the
See
wrong
now,
green.
there you go. See now, pistachio reminds me of Baskin Robbins, and we had a Baskin Robbins on 108th Street in Forest Hills, and that was our go-to. Like as soon as school ended, it didn't matter what time of year it was. We went to Baskin Robbins, and I think it was the bubblegum ice cream, which tasted really nasty, but you had bubblegum in it. So you could chew bubbles with your ice cream, which was like the coolest thing, but it was the nastiest tasting ice cream. No offense, Baskin Robbins.
My kids still like that ice. Like they get the ice cream with the gum in it or the gummy bears or whatever.
Do you guys have a Cold Stone out there, or?
No, we have.
Okay.
I mean, we have all kinds of like boutique ice cream stores, and they're all really good. We do not have Cold Stone, but the whole thing about, and we just like for how long we're telling ice cream stories, right? And the cool thing about why this is so powerful, if we're talking about story, is because they're like almost universal human experiences. Food, nostalgia, anything that comes with emotion, that comes with human connection, that comes with, it's a way to relate to other people. It's a way to build relationship. It's a way to like, I know about your ice cream flavor, so I know a whole lot about you. You can learn a lot about a person by their favorite ice cream flavor and why.
Yeah.
And so when you're thinking about sales copy, like it's this big scary thing, it's about finding the story. It's about finding a way to bring your personality into it and also tying it to the takeaway.
Interesting.
Like, what is the lesson? What does it mean? Why should we care? What is the new connection in my brain that has happened because you have told me this story?
Okay. That's a new, I just learned something new. I mean, I love that too. Now I'm going to ask my next client, what's your favorite ice cream? And they're going to be like, why?
Oh, it matters.
I mean, it does. So I am going to pause for a second because we are crazy fortunate enough, which I still, I don't know when I'm going to get tired of this. I don't think ever. We have our first sponsor, Inovia Behavioral Health. And I'm going to read a blurb, which is what played in the beginning of the podcast. It's also going to play at the end of the podcast. And then I'm going to read a couple of their groups. But this is just one of the coolest subscription plans. It's amazing. So, there are times when we all could use a little extra help and support in our lives, whether there is something you're struggling with or just seeking connection with other people who understand what it's like to be in your situation. Inovia Behavioral Health can help. Inovia is a subscription-based organization that provides unlimited access to a wide variety of educational, experiential, and therapeutic support groups that are led by live expert facilitators. Now, you can get 20% off off your membership with the discount code Cookbook20 when you subscribe. So if you use Cookbook 20, you'll get 20% off the subscription. And the really cool thing about this, and I'm going to move the blurb out of the way. The really cool thing about this is it's not just subscribing for one group, like a meditation group or a yoga group, or they have groups that are for the Spanish community or Latina community. They have emotional sobriety, first responder support, overcoming burnout, learn conversational Spanish, Lujang Tibetan yoga, becoming your healthier self. The coolest thing about this is it's not like $99 with the Cookbook 20, it's $80. It's not per course. It's just for the platform.
Here's what I found.
Okay, Siri had something to say. It's just for the platform. So you get all of these groups and access to all of these groups for one low monthly price. So it's an amazing resource for all the different things in your life, and it's Innovia Behavioral Health. Feel good. Okay, so yeah, it is cool, and their groups are amazing. And yeah, I feel very, very fortunate to have that sponsorship. And the guy who runs it, Luke, is so cool. He was on here, and his story was really cool. So if you get a chance, that podcast will be out next week. So
Check it out.
yeah, which next week is March 20. It'll be March 22nd, 21st. Because yeah, but anyway, so what there are a lot of seasoned entrepreneurs out there, right? And we've been doing this like we're serial entrepreneurs. We've been doing this forever, and this is our thing. But we all go through, or we've all come through obstacles. So, what is an obstacle that you've overcome?
So this is something that I'm currently still struggling with in another version of it. And it's the thing that once you know how to sell, once you have your offer down, once you get good at marketing and putting out content, and people get to know your voice, and you grow to the point where you don't want to be doing it anymore, there is more on your plate, there's higher leverage things for you to be doing. You want to bring someone else in who can take over some of that and be your voice and write content and copy for you. And it really is, how do you get your brain into someone else's keyboard? How do you hand it off? How do you create a process? And even though this is what I do, it's what I do for other people, I still have someone who comes in and handles some of the copy and the emails and the social content and all of these things, and really figuring out how to get it off your plate without sacrificing the quality of your message and the thing that you are known for. So really overcome it. I don't know that I've overcome it fully. But it's something that I see a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, especially seasoned entrepreneurs who've been doing this a while. And I say, well, who's writing your copy? Who's writing your content? And they say, well, it's still me. Do you want it to be you? No. So why isn't that happening? And I think it's just a really hard thing to outsource, because it's you, it's your message, it's how people get to know you and relate to you.
Yep.
And so it's probably one of the biggest things to hand off, and one of the last things to hand off.
Interesting. And as a marketer, people, so it was really funny when I was in Hawaii. I heard an ad on the radio for a digital marketing company.
Okay.
And it
on
took
the radio.
me on the radio, and because here we have Sirius or XM or whatever, but in a rent-a-car, you don't have that. And yeah, it was like, for all your digital marketing needs. And I was like, well, holy shit. I've never heard a marketing company, you know, advertise before, right? Like that's what we do. We do the media buys. We do that. So it was really interesting. And then it got me thinking on I don't market myself. I don't. So where
Mhm.
do I go? What do I do? And so you are 100% right. And so right now we're in the middle of, a rebrand. I just redid my logo. We're redoing the website. I'm going to put, well, my lead magnet is gone right now. I had a quiz up there, but since it's under construction, it's gone. I'm like, no, I need that back. Um, but it's really interesting because I've been thinking about that, and it's like I'm marketing for so many other people, but who's marketing for me?
And that's what happens though when you build a business that's based on referrals, and that happens when you're good at what you do. Because I
Yeah.
was in the same position. I had, everybody who came to me and wanted, like, please write my copy, was word of mouth. It was all like you had to know somebody. And it's another shift, and it's another obstacle that I'm overcoming around visibility, around doing more podcasts, around putting out content, around being visible in a bigger way, about putting your perspective out there and really marketing yourself. And it is a shift between, okay, everybody's coming to me, like, and they come and they know that I'm good, and they'll come and, all I have to do is say, yes, I have time on my calendar for you, which is a fun place to be, right?
Right.
Especially when you stay busy that way. But if you want to shift to being less of a service provider and more of a thought leader, course creator, have more leverage, you
Hmm.
have to grow an audience. And
Yeah.
that is a very different thing, and requires a different skill set and a different way of showing up. So
Yeah. And
that
it's been
is,
interesting because the last 2 months I've been guests on podcasts. And I remember the first podcast that I was a guest on, it was, it was, it was weird because I wasn't asking the questions. I was in the hot seat. And it was like, uh, okay, I have to show that I know my shit now. Okay, here we go. Let's go. And when I got in that mindset, it made it all a lot smoother. And then a couple of the podcasts that I was on were a couple of you know, uh, like the journey, not necessarily about my expertise, but about my story, my life. And I used to not talk about it because I came from some rough beginnings, um, but then I started realizing that that's why I am who I am. That's why I'm empathetic. That's why I'm compassionate. That's why I can see a I can see a scenario from somebody else's shoes.
mhm.
Um, so by doing these interviews, it really kind of made me more in touch with myself, which was really interesting. Um, and now, anytime somebody says you want to be on, I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
100%, because I mean, as you do them, you learn more about yourself. I mean, you learn more about the person that you're interviewing, but as a guest, I think as we talk, we get more comfortable with what we're doing, with how we're talking, how we're showing up. But I think we also kind of get more in touch with who we are. I mean, do you feel that, or?
I have, it's really funny because every podcast that I have been on recently has, like, there's been another light bulb about what I do, what I teach, how I teach it, because
Yep.
as you're explaining something on the fly, answering the question, you think about different ways to say things. And so it's just, I had the light bulb here about, the ice cream story and why it matters, and all these things. And it just connects. And I will share things now, that I wouldn't have been comfortable sharing even just a few years ago, because I'm very much a behind the scenes. Let's keep my private life private. I don't put my kids on social media. I've got 4 of them and a dog, but you never see them,
Right.
because that is the part of my life that, here's here's business, here's, what I do and what I teach, and then here's my family. And feels like there's been this line in the middle, and there's a part that I like to keep over there.
Mhm.
And figuring out and realizing that it's safe to share, and that people actually care and they want to hear it and they want to hear the stories, it's been that kind of journey for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny because with they're being unusually quiet. I can see them, so I know they're not up to no good. But but there are times that we'll be doing a podcast and they are just barking their heads off, and then somebody that has dogs on the other end, their dog starts barking, and it's like, oh shit, we have to like pause for a second because there's like this, conversation going, between whatever. But I think what was the most fun for me was when Fabienne Raphael is she's a dame, and she was doing the podcast. And before we started the podcast, she said, I just want to throw a disclaimer out there that, I have my son, and I know this is supposed to be an hour, but we're probably going to have to cut it to 30 minutes because that's all he has in him, and I said, so bring him on. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, if he comes in the room and makes noise, let him. I said, this is real life. I said, this is, I'm not conservative in any way, shape, or form. To me, this is not a free for all, but it's a free form. You have a kid, you're working from home, and they're going to make noise or they need your attention. So give them attention. It's all good. And so we did the episode, and Theo was in the back. I think he picked out like 256 different Christmas presents while we were doing the episode. And when we were finished, she thanked me, and she was like, "Thank you, because now I know that I don't have to hide him." And like I literally gave her permission to just do you, be you, and your life is your life. I mean, the reality is that, 60 to 70% of people are working from home now. It is what it is. So, we have home lives. Kids are going to cry. Kids are going to want to get into the room. Dogs are going to bark. Landscapers are going to show up when they're not supposed to. Like there's just a whole bevy of things, that can happen. And
things are not perfect.
No, and they shouldn't be. I think if it's perfect, then it's scripted, and I don't know. I just think that for me, that's not fun.
No,
for me, this is about connecting with people on a real level, hearing their stories, hearing the journey to how they got to where they are. There are some people that I had Psychic Nate on, and Nate used to be like a COO of a major corporation, and he decided to leave to pursue his psychic abilities. And he's my psychic, and I probably speak to him, once or twice a week or, whatever. And he's amazing. And he was a guest, and they were like, huh, he's a psychic, but he's an entrepreneur. He has his own business. Right. He still has to navigate the same way. The only difference is that he can, read stuff that we can't. And it was really cool. And that's what I love about this is that I never know who's going to be on. I never know what they're going to talk about. We just did a recap, episode. Actually, it's running this week, and the stuff that we've learned has just been unbelievable. So it's been a great journey. So what, and I think we already know this from hearing you talk, but what is your differentiator? I mean, there are a lot of people that do story out there. There's a lot of people that do copy out there. There's a lot of people that can do all the things. So why Danielle?
It's a good question. It's first of all, I love mint chocolate chip ice cream. Like, if you like mint chocolate chip, you're my people. If you come into my group and say you love mint chocolate chip, that's it. And if you don't, it's okay. We can still talk. We can still be
Yeah.
friends. But I think it's really like, I've been doing this a long time. I have a creative writing background. So, a background in literature and writing and like what makes good writing and good stories. And also the long experience of being in sales copy as well and helping people ask the right questions to really extract that narrative and their message. And a lot of people will focus when it comes to copy on the story and the hype and the like. It's really all comes down to your narrative, and that one framework, you can do so much with that once you have it and once you know how to work within it and get really comfortable with it. And I love helping reveal that for people and helping people get to that, because that is where you get to their essence and the work that they're here to do in the world that is the missing piece for so many other people. So if the missing piece in your business is your narrative and the clear way of describing what you do and how it changes the world in a way that just rolls off your tongue, then we should chat.
There you go. And I love the way you say the essence, because it is an essence. There, like, each of us have our own essence and our own, oh gosh. I almost want to say spirit about us, right? That is what makes us all different. That, I love the way that you frame things, because it's so important when you're working with copy. It's so important to have the right person be able to extract that, because not everybody is for everybody, right? I mean, we're not going to work with everybody. I mean, as much as it would be nice, it's not going to happen.
That's very true.
So your people, so your mint chocolate chip people out there, and people who, maybe even eat chocolate chip or vanilla, because at the end of the day, all the flavors complement each other. Well, except maybe I can think of a couple that maybe don't. But when I was in Hawaii, there were some weird flavors, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to eat that.
And that's the thing about it, is like, I would define my copy style as elegant. There are a lot of writers who will write in a super friendly, like sassy, and crack jokes every other sentence. And that's just not who I am. And that is okay. That style is not me, and not everybody relates to it too. And so if you are, you want to get to the essence in a really elegant, clear, simple, persuasive way, and you don't want to, be sassy, then I'm your gal, right? And that's what we're talking about, the different flavors, and not everybody is for everybody. And I know those writers, and I love those writers, and I follow those writers, but I am never going to write like that.
Right. So you'll appreciate this. So I was working with the VA, and clearly she used ChatGPT, which is great. I mean, honestly, I use it. For ideas, it's great. I mean, my God,
have that conversation about
right.
It's coming.
Oh, it is. But so it was a thing about podcasts, and then it said, humorous tip, and then it would give what was funny, and then it would be another paragraph, and then it would say humorous tip, and I was like, oh my God, no, what the no. But it was just so funny that it was just like every 3 paragraphs was humorous tip. Okay, so how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Find me on LinkedIn, find me on Instagram. Go and download my 30 subject line shortcuts from dwcopy.com/subject lines, or you can find it on the homepage. That is a super great resource that I even send my paid consulting students to. If you should never be at a loss for what subject line to put on your emails to your list. Go get it, go grab it, go use it. That is the most important thing. And then you will get emails from me with updates about what is happening, stories of my life, some talk about ice cream, all the things.
That is awesome. Well, I want to thank you for an hour. But you and I could talk for like 3 hours and it'll go by really fast. So, but I want to thank you for taking the time. So what time is it there? Yeah. I always forget.
It is 11:05 p.m.
11. So you're 6 hours ahead. Okay. Eastern time. Thank you for taking the time. I know you work crazy hours. So, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This was a real pleasure. And the last question that I ask all my guests is, what lights your fire?
Other than ice cream?
Other than ice cream. Because that'll melt the ice cream.
I feel like that dominated the conversation here.
Oh, really, yeah. When we're done, I'm going to go eat ice cream. So go ahead.
It is what we just talked about, which is helping people nail the message, write words that feel like them, chew over business strategy. Like I'll geek out about marketing strategy and launch strategy and copy any day of the week. And if that is the predictable and boring answer, so be it.
No, I mean, it's if that's what it is, that's what it is. You know, it's different for everybody else. So I think that's awesome. And if anything, your client should feel really comfortable knowing that that is what, you know, lights you up. So I'm going to say goodbye and I'll be right back. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out again for an hour plus. It means so much to me. I know I say this every week and I'm really, you know, it's true. I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. And I'm very grateful for Inovia Behavioral Health for being our sponsor, Inovia Feel Good. And you know what? Have a great week because we're back to weekly again. And thank you. Go down, download, like, subscribe. When you download it and you subscribe, you get a notification that a new episode is out. And who doesn't want another, episode of the cookbook? So thank you guys so much. And until next time, go out and find what lights your fire. See ya.